This Pitch Breakfast video is brought to you by Spangler & Agins, attorneys for Charlotte's startup community.
All right. I'm Keith. I'm the founder of Get Connected. We're a mobile-friendly web application that's connecting construction workers with job opportunities. A quick story about some workers that actually happened this week. I talked to a worker. He had a job that was ending on Monday, and the next day he didn't have a job. Unfortunately, that meant his brothers and father also were looking for a job. And they had to rely on the current options to find work. Networking with their community, the friends, family, colleagues. They could go to a designated location to wait, maybe outside of a Home Depot, or they could go to a staffing agency. Both of the last two, they sit there and wait with only the potential to get a job for that day. And then they won't know the employer when they come, so they don't know if their rights are going to be protected, if they're going to have fair wages, and a lot more other problems. But it's not any better on the contractor side. 70% of contractors nationally say they have a difficult time finding workers. If you add in the people that responded and said they had a moderately difficult time finding workers, it's 95%. And here in Charlotte, that's 84%. So both parties are relying on these antiquated processes. They can go to gathering locations, staffing agencies, or use networking. And amazingly, this still includes Craigslist. What they need is a centralized platform where they can both aggregate their needs. And now they can do that with Get Connected. Workers go on, they create a profile, they highlight their skill sets, their skill levels within those skill sets, and then they can look for job opportunities based on date and time, start date, end date, geographic locations. Let's say you don't have transportation and you want to find a job close to home. You can also see the employer ratings. Employers can see worker ratings, so they know the skill sets of the workers they're about to hire for that day or that job. And finally, workers can look at the pay range they're going to get working on that job, and eventually we'll be able to help facilitate that payment. Why are we doing this? Our mission is to strengthen economic mobility among the blue-collar workforce. And we can do this by changing the hiring process and forging partnerships with educational opportunities so they can advance their skill sets and knowledge and get higher paying jobs. So we're going to create an easy-to-use technology to help facilitate the connection and to have a one-stop shop for contractors and workers. And workers can find opportunities to increase their knowledge and skill sets. So the business model, a contractor posts a job, workers can apply, and then if a contractor sees a profile of a worker that he wants to talk to, he pays Get Connected $1.50 to see the phone number, and they negotiate the terms of the deal. After the worker completes the jobs, they receive payment as they do today, cash, check, or other vehicles. So our total addressable market, of the 7.2 million people working in construction nationally, about 1.5 million are considered construction laborers. We're trying to go after about 5%. And in the next 3 years, by going after Charlotte and Atlanta, we'll have 10,000 workers actively on the platform for a recurring annual revenue of $700,000. And the way we get there is by creating the partnerships we've already started to do here locally and expand the reach nationally. A lot of these organizations know the workers, their skill sets, and we can help. They can help get with the trust. They know that they can trust Get Connected. They also know the employers, people that we want on the platform because they're exhibiting the right behaviors. So traction to date. Since we launched in June, we have about 70 workers on the platform, 5 employers, and our first job was posted on the 30th of July. And yesterday we got our first dollar in revenue. Yeah. So the next 3 years kind of look like, right now we're in proof of concept. Hoping to do funding in early 2019. That funding would be applied to do application enhancements and additionally look at regional rollouts. And then after that, we'll look at industry expansion, things like manufacturing, warehousing, hospitality when you think about hotels and restaurants. I want to take a quick second to thank the City of Charlotte and the Economic Development Department. This is something I'm really proud about. For the first time, the City of Charlotte helped get funding through NE Casey Foundation in the form of a grant. And that was done also in partnership and sponsorship by Queen City Ford. We graduated from the Accelerator program last year. And it's really exciting to use those funds to build this platform as we have it today. And lastly, I just want to thank Innovate Charlotte. We're part of the mentorship program. And having access to great mentors has been really helpful for us. Lastly, I'm just going to leave this quote up here. Economic Opportunity Report that came out in 2017 talks about the City of Charlotte being last place among large cities in terms of economic mobility. And a key factor of that is social capital and connecting people to the right people and jobs. And Get Connected can help with that. So thank you.
Keith, really nice job on the presentation. So I'll start with some of the things that I really liked. So you started out, and what I wrote down is, what are you doing? You're connecting construction workers to jobs. So really nice, succinct overview of what you did. So it got me focused right away, which was good. Given that we have a Lowe's person in here, you should have replaced Lowe's with Home Depot, but I'll let you figure that out. And it is Charlotte and not Atlanta. So the contractors, in terms of finding employers, I mean, we've all seen that market. One of the big things that was sticking in my back of my mind was, okay, in that marketplace, are you actually going to get construction workers to register on a site? And part of that's just from legal issues, right? Particularly around are they really legal workers and so forth? And does that impact your thing? So I think that's a little bit of the elephant in the room. So I do think, and I know hard to do in 5 minutes, but you need to address that, particularly with investors, in terms of what that might do to adoption of the platform. The other thing, I know this wasn't per se an investor pitch. Thank you. I know this wasn't per se an investor pitch, but a little bit more about your background and why you care about this market. Because you're passionate about it, but I wasn't really 100% certain why you were so passionate about it, right? So again, because early stage investing is all about the team, and it did beg the question, is it just you, or do you have some other co-founders involved with you as well? The market. So you did a good job on their 1.5 million workers. I was paying attention, right? But you also did one of the things that I absolutely hate seeing entrepreneurs do, which is, I'm going to get 5% of the market. Everybody says they're going to get 5% of the market because it sounds easy. It is really hard as hell to get 5% of any market. And when you do that, again, it shuts me down a little bit, because what I'd much rather hear is, here's how I intend to go start to the market. Eventually, if I get to 5, here's what I get. But I've got a real plan for where I start, right? I'm starting in Charlotte. I'm starting in Atlanta. And congratulations, by the way, on your first dollar of revenue, because I said in the previous presentation, the best way you fund your company is to actually drive revenue. And one last comment, and sorry, I'm going quickly here because I want to get them all in, was it also wasn't clear to me, and because I might have lost you as you were doing it, but how do you get paid, right? What's the business model? I presume it's kind of Uber-like, where you're collecting a connecting fee. Yeah. Okay.
Yep, that would be a good one. Yeah, there's clearly a gap there in how this model works, and so I think at the highest level, the two biggest gaps for me in the presentation, again, short format, is a little bit more about you and your connection to this, because you wrap with social mobility. You kind of start with social mobility, you build some momentum around it, and then I'm like, okay, this guy's actually got me now. Like, I get it, but it didn't click. Like, you didn't catch that gear as to why. So there's two things there. It's you and your connection, which Dan brought up, to the cause of the idea and the business model, and then like how the business model ramps. And it doesn't have to be the final version of the business model. It just has to be like you've thought through it, right? I want to see that process. But in general, like, awesome pitch. I don't really have a lot. The couple nits I had were that mission and vision slide just kind of, I don't know, it was a weird derailer slide for me. It kind of just hit there, and I was like, wait a minute, like, what are we talking about now? You could either drop it from this or maybe put that up front in a tighter, just really tight. And that might help you actually set the table on you and why you're here. So there's some connection between mission, vision, and like your passion and drive for this. It just didn't resonate, and that the placement just kind of killed your mojo. And then I would bring that market slide, which Dan was talking about, because it was really visually well designed. Just put it more up front, because I think you kind of got me within the first 2 minutes. Then it's like, all right, now explain to me how you're thinking about the market. So that's kind of how my funnel of like how I process the idea is usually a little bit more of that market sizing after you've got me clicking on what your product's actually going to be. Yeah, I think that was it on feedback. There might be an interesting, one more thing. I loved how you kind of tied it up. Like when pitching in Charlotte, to Dan's point, I mean, it's funny about Lowe's versus Home Depot, but specifically like the logos you put on the board, right? City of Charlotte, Queen City Forward, Innovate Charlotte, like that's actually cool. Like your story is very, I think, textbook as to how a lot of people, innovators, entrepreneurs think you should be using a community. So there's something there. Like you've actually touched on a lot of awesome resources in Charlotte, and that shows something. I think you should highlight that because investors should kind of see that as an advantage. Like, hey, I'm a very resourceful guy. I don't know how you say that without sounding like yourself, you're over pitching yourself, but there's something about how you've played ball here in town to get to this level and to use those resources, and I'd work on that a little bit. And that might just be more of the interpersonal connections you're building with potential investors. And then what was the last thing? Oh yeah, there's I don't know if this is the right place for you to look next, but I think it's a pretty cool fund called Greenlight. They just opened their kind of Charlotte office. It's a national platform and out of Boston initially, but that might be a really cool place for you to kind of call and say like, hey, you might want to put your hat in the ring at Greenlight. They're kind of investing, up to $1 million in kind of socially geared concepts like this.
Okay.
I don't know, again, like the business model, for-profit, nonprofit, somewhere in the middle as a B Corp, like sorting some of those things out will probably help you advance your fundraising goals, a little bit quicker. But anyway, great work.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah, sure, I'll respond. So I glanced over the business model, but right now we get a fee to connect workers, the employers with workers. So they pay $1.50 to get the phone number of a worker. That model will change as we do wage payment facilitation, and it'll go more to, a worker gets $15 an hour and we get a fee on top of that. It's still going to be significantly less than what they're paying to staffing agencies. A prime example is I talked to a guy in Denver for a $15 an hour job that he pays the worker. He pays an additional $30 to a staffing agency per hour. So significantly cheaper options. Why am I passionate about it? I had the idea about 4 years ago. My sister and brother-in-law run a construction company in Nashville, Tennessee, doing very energy efficient homes. And they said, I can't find workers. I didn't pick on Lowe's because surprisingly it's a bigger problem in terms of loitering in front of Home Depots, supposedly. I don't know. It's actually a good thing. Yeah. So I lived in front of a Home Depot in Atlanta, and I regularly saw between 5 and 50 workers standing there, and I just kind of clicked, there's something here, let's learn more about it. And in terms of the undocumented versus documented, it's actually surprisingly a higher percentage than I thought were documented workers. And so it's not as big of a deal as I initially thought as well. I think that covered most of your questions.
So if I'm a construction company and I go to your site and I need 10 workers today, can I reserve them? Where do I go to get them? How does that
So you post a job, you indicate how many workers you need, and then you're instantly brought up a map showing all the workers that fit that job type. So you say, I need drywall, you instantly see the 30 plus people that we have on the platform saying they can do fresh hangs and installations or repairs. And then you can click on the individual profiles to review, and you just push the job to them, or they can apply to you. The other thing I didn't mention is we also have text messaging. So if you don't have a smartphone, we can sign you up via chatbot to create your profile, and I can also push jobs to them.
So if I pick my 10 workers, I'm going to pay $15 for the $1.50 per worker?
If they accept, so you push the job to them, they have to review it, decide if they actually want the job. If they then say yes, then you pay the money to connect with them.
I'm in the talent management business, and I'm curious, it's very similar to LinkedIn, but I've noticed that you're going to add industries in the middle of 2020, 2021.
Yeah, the goal is to expand industries anywhere where blue collar workforce is. Manufacturing, warehousing have the exact same problems with finding workers on a regular basis.
The thing I have, you mentioned that with the construction workers, you're going to have past performance indicating future performance. How are you doing that with these new industries? How are hiring managers going to look without getting innovative and saying, yeah, these guys are all great, but I have 100 of them. Which ones am I going to pick?
So it's all based on like reviews as well, and then that's part of the reason why we're working with the organizations as well, because they know the workers intimately, and we're getting to know the workers, so we have their skill sets and we can pass it along, so they help identify for the employers.
Online reputation assessments.
Can you explain more? Sure. Okay.
Got time for one more, real quick. Yes, sir.
How do you validate somebody saying I'm a skilled carpenter or skilled electrician and they really aren't?
Yeah, right now it's all self-attested, but as they complete work, they get rated based on their performance by the employer. But we're also allowing the workers to rate the employers because there's a lot of workers' rights issues. And so that dual rating is really important.
Would you use any kind of education? I mean, I'm the CPCC and I passed this course, this validation.
Yeah, so there's a place for them to indicate any certifications. They can also do free text if they want to indicate. And then also they indicate on their profile if they're a member of Urban League, Goodwill, any of the organizations that were up on the string, they say I'm a member here so that the employer knows there's ancillary services there.
All right, Get connected.
Okay.